it's Adrienne Graham from Mogul Chix. Thank you so much for tuning in, and those of you who are tuning in late, welcome anyway. But I wanted to take today to talk about Mogul Chix Academy. Some of you already know that I launched Mogul Chix about a year and a half ago, and we started off with a program that was, I thought, amazing, and we hit some bumps along the road. So we had to kind of regroup, refigure it out, and I came up with the Mogul Chix Academy. I just felt really bad calling it a membership or a program or whatever, because it's not what it was. And I finally came to the realization that it was an academy. And I'll tell you why I came up with that name in a little bit. But anyway, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Adrienne Graham. You must probably know me first as CEO of Empowerment Corporation, which is a growth strategies consultancy. And a lot of you know me from social media, probably Talent Diva on Twitter, and of course my name across the board everywhere else. But a lot more know me from Mogul Chix and the initiative that I've taken in trying to get more women to grow and scale their companies and get funded by investors. So a little back history. I am an entrepreneur since 1994. Well, I was born with the DNA, but I started my first company in 1994 and did some great things with that. I was very successful. Was doing that for about 6 years. 2000, I retired and tried to find out what I wanted to do when I grew up. So that's how I came up with Empower Me, which kind of morphed and shifted over the years into something different. And as I grew with that and tried and experimented with different things, I believe it gave me the foundation of who I am today and the things that I've built today and the things that I am pursuing. And I am grateful for that experience. And while I don't promote that brand as often, I do still do some work under there because, the guys get upset and say, oh, that's sexist. Why don't you let men come and work with men? So, Mogul Chix is just for the girls and Empower Me is for everyone else. But, it really, in my travels and in my speaking engagements and in the work that I've done, one of the biggest sticking points for me was that women were severely underfunded. And I know you guys have heard me talk about this a lot. Another thing was that a lot of times women-owned companies were either not prepared, didn't have the right platform, didn't have the adequate access, and weren't really given a chance. I mean, there were pitches that I've sat on where the other panelists were like, it's a lifestyle brand, it's not a company. I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? A lifestyle brand can absolutely be turned into a company. And in my conversations with different VCs and angel investors, and for those of you who don't know what VC is, venture capitalists, just really quickly in the scale of things, how it works is you get whatever's in your pocket, friends and family, angel investors, VC. And that's kind of how the scale works. And you don't go to a VC until you have gotten some traction under you and you have grown a business and you have some promise. And then they might be willing to talk to you, depending on what industry it is. But in my conversations with them, it was always, well, we can't seem to attract a lot of women-founded companies, female-founded companies that are actually viable. Now, if you look in the news and you look around you, you see Spanx, you see Oprah Winfrey's company, you see Janice Bryant Howard, you see Sarah Blakely, you see all of these amazing, incredible women who, Sheila Johnson, how can I forget her? And all of these amazing women, not just here in the United States, but around the world. And I know some of you are going to be watching this or listening to this from the other side of the world. And it is just amazing what these women have built. Nobody gave them anything. They weren't born with silver spoons in their mouths. They bust their behinds to get where they were. Sometimes they had funding, sometimes they did not. But what my goal was to level the playing field, make it equal and open for women to get funding. And when I say funding, I really focus more on angel and VC investing, but it absolutely can mean through your local bank, through the SBA, friends and family rounds, and tapping your own savings and coming up with your own kind of reserves so that you can invest in your business. A lot of times VCs will want to know, well, where did you get your money before? How are you sustaining your company before you're coming to us? Why do you need our money? So it's very important to understand the different access to capital that's out there where you can get funds for your company. So bringing it back to Mogul Chix, I was a mentor. I am a mentor, excuse me, at an accelerator program, and Straight Shot Accelerator. Hey, Omaha, Nebraska, go Corn Huskers, I guess. I don't know. Don't be mad at me. But, you know, in being a mentor at that program and then a couple of other ones that have asked me to join on, I was always looked at as the token prize. You take that in a good way or a bad way. But I was probably one of few or the only women. I was one of few or the only woman of color. And I was really tapped to bring in those demographics, women, women of color, Latino, African-American, Middle Eastern, Asian, whatever. And it's flattering because I do have that reach, and I'm grateful to everyone who follows me on social media, who sends me notes, who subscribes to my newsletters, although I haven't really been doing much, who have subscribed to my podcast and all of that good stuff. I thank you for following, and those of you who reach out and connect with me. I love it. But, you know, it was, oh, well, let's get Adrienne to come on board as a mentor. We could attract more people. So I started thinking about it, and I said, well, why am I going to do this just for them? And then be met at the end with, oh, we had disappointing numbers of women or women in color. We couldn't attract them, and that's why we need you. Can you please help us figure it out? So instead of helping other people figure it out, I said, why not do it myself? I know where the women are. I speak to them on a daily basis. And who better to launch something than me? Now, the differentiation for that is, the difference maker is, I deal with growth companies. So the companies I deal with, and some of you who are going to be in the Mogul Chix Academy, are women who already are in business, not necessarily startups. Now, you may feel like a startup, but someone who's been in business at least 2 years, generating some revenue, even if it's in the negative, and someone who has that long-term vision where they want to grow and scale a company. And my hope, my secret passion hope, is that, yeah, you all get funding, but my bigger hope is that you don't need funding, that you, by the time you are done with Mogul Chix, you would have amassed a good client base, you have traction with your revenue, you're bringing in different streams of revenue, you're profitable to the point where you don't need an investor. An investor would be a nice to have. So someone who is coming to Mogul Chix and saying, I need an investor or I won't survive, that's the wrong thinking, the wrong mindset to have in this program, because that's not what we're shooting for. We're shooting to make the companies non-owner sustainable, meaning that you have your teams and your systems in place and that it's scalable, so that you're not being the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, the dressmaker, the tablecloth setter, or whatever, that you're being the CEO, the chief of your company, which is what you should be. Now, I know some of you laugh who know me and say, but Adrienne, you do everything. I kind of do, and I kind of don't, mostly out of stubbornness. But, you know, I am in a position where I can, if I was less controlling with what I do, I could release all of everything and sit back and just show up when I need to show up. And that's not me. I don't have that ethic in me. I have that work. Some of you know my work ethic. So I have to stay busy. I have to stay involved. Nobody's going to love your baby like you love your baby. That's pretty much what it is. But that's not an excuse. Do as I say, not as I do. But anywho, so I came up with Mogul Chix, and we started the program last year. I think it was September, and we were going, and then we had some stumbles. I had some personal issues. I had some health issues, but we still chugged on. And then it got to a point where it kind of fell through, kind of fell apart. And I'm a transparent person, and I tell you guys, and plus I have people on here who went through it with me, so they know exactly what we went through. And I said, okay, it's time to stop, regroup, and figure out how to do this the right way. And I have figured out how to do this the right way. So introducing Mogul Chix Academy. We have now where it's 26 interactive lectures, 7 real-world application projects, 26 discussions, 5 case studies, 1 simulation team project, and 1 pitch project. Yes, that's a lot. And I know you're probably cursing me right now, but I'm going to tell you why. You need to have this. Because I think that with this, if you went into any program, any college program, you would be able to get in there and you would have something similar to this, and it would be able to test along the way. And this is why I created this, so that you guys will be able to be tested along the way and make sure that you're getting it. It's going to be helping you with your customer experiences, creating sustainable growth, helping you build solid teams, finding and optimizing revenue opportunities. You're probably leaving some money on the table, and a lot more. So we have 6 modules, and also the end of course symposium. So here's what it is. Module 1 starts next week, and we talk all about your company DNA. We're going to be diving deep. Now, here's the difference between this being a class and being an experience. I'm all about experiential learning. And I want to make sure that when you come, it's not theory learning. It is about you being able to use your particular company. And we're going to break it down to the studs and work on every part of your company through these modules. So module 1, which is the first month, and each module is broken down into 4 weeks. So you have 6 modules, 4 weeks each. Then you have the end of course symposium. And of course, we're talking about raising money and things like that. So company DNA, we're going to look at your business model, your revenue models, your cash flow, your pricing strategy, your planning for revenue and pricing, your customer strategy, and how you differentiate yourself. I want to make sure that you're building profitable business models. Some of you may only have one steady business model. Some of you may have multiple business models. But I want to make sure that we're clearing the clutter and getting away, moving away all of the confusion, and making sure that each business model, first of all, makes sense. Second of all, brings in revenue. Third of all, is profitable. And without those 3 things, you can't have a solid business model and your business can't grow. So module 2 is all about people, staffing and talent management, leadership principles, advisory boards, building strategic power networks. And we're going to have people come in and talk about these things as well. But right now you may not be thinking about hiring and firing, but as you grow and expand, that is something that's very important. You have to build a team. You have to build a base, because guess what? No woman is an island unto herself. And it takes a talented team. It takes a management team. It takes strong leadership. It takes an advisory board and powerful networks to make it grow. Module 3 will be process and product service optimization, operations, technology, your sales process, all of the things that you do from soup to nuts. How do you create the process or the product or the service, and how you deliver it, how you manufacture it if it's a product, how to get on, traction and shelf space and things like that. Module 4 is traction. Oh, speaking of traction, right? Negotiation, because you know what? Everything is negotiable. I told you guys over and over again, and I said this in a Facebook Live the other day. A real estate mentor of mine told me, don't worry about the sticker price. Price is negligible. What matters is terms. Everything is negotiable. And I want you guys to start thinking in those terms, because it is absolutely true. Don't just look at a price on something, a sticker price. Like when you go to buy a car and you go to a dealership, they put a sticker price, but they highly expect for you to negotiate. Why not use that same tactic in your business? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about conflicts and setbacks, because some of us have them. I know I've had my share. Brand reboot, it may mean that you may have to readjust your brand or reshift or rethink your brand. And market readiness. Some people, just to be honest and blunt, because that's who I am, may in their mind and in their heart feel that their business is absolutely ready, but they're not. There's some missing elements. So we're going to be looking at that. Module 5 is growth. That's when we start getting into the nitty gritty. Expansion planning. Do you want a brick and mortar? Do you want to have a second location? Do you want to expand internationally? Succession planning. What's going to happen when you decide you want to step back? Is there somebody that you're grooming to run the business for you? At what point do you get another CEO and you step back and just be chair? At what point do you put together a plan where you promote people through your team to help build it out further? All those things we're going to be talking about, and we're going to get timelines. We're going to put you on timelines. It may seem it's funny now that I don't know about that. No, trust me, by the time we get to that module, you'll be ready. Financial planning. I have very special guest, Tretta Bush, who's going to be coming in and talking to you guys about financial planning for entrepreneurs. That's a lot different than individual personal financial planning. There's a whole other level of planning that you have to do to protect your assets, to protect yourself, to build your wealth and legacy protection. So she'll be coming in to talk about that in Module 5. Module 6 will be talking about what you're probably the piece de resistance, fundraising. Everybody is not like Shark Tank. And I have to point that out to you guys, because everyone thinks you could just go up to an investor and say, hey, I have this business idea, or I have this plan, or I've been in business and I need money. Here, can I pitch to you? No, it doesn't work that way. I know you've heard them say, well, let's figure out, how did you come to that valuation? You know, some people pull numbers out of thin air and say, hey, my business is $10 million. Why? What are your sales like? Who's your customer base? What's your volume? What's your profit margin? What's your cost of customer acquisition? You know, things like that. All of those things you have to figure out before you can even form your amount to even pull an evaluation out. Funding readiness. You know, what makes you ready to get funding? What makes you ready to pitch? Types of funding. Like I said, there's so many different types. I'm going to break them all down. Due diligence, how to do your due diligence on yourself and your company. Make sure you have all your I's dotted and T's crossed, and your due diligence on investors. All money ain't good money. Remember that if you remember nothing else. How to close rounds of funding. And then, of course, post-investment relationships. It's like a marriage. We'll talk a lot about that. So the end of course symposium is where we do the wrap up, and we talk about quality of life for entrepreneurs, especially if you're a multi-entrepreneur like I am, have multiple businesses. The pitch project, the team project, and the wrap up of the academy. That's pretty much what the overview is for the Mogul Chix Academy. So I want to take a couple of minutes and really talk a little bit about some of the roadblocks of why women don't get funded. One is they're not presenting their company in the best light. Now you can be a person that's creative and on your mark all the time and have your marketing material, your brochures, your website, everything is beautifully packaged, but there's some disconnect. The numbers are not matching up with the appearance of the company. So that's one reason why investors are saying, nope, not interested. Number two, you pitch the wrong investors. You can't pitch the wrong investors. If you are in biotech and you go to an investor who is in the retail sector, you're probably not going to get any funding unless you're just shooting wild in the dark and say, you don't want to diversify. So you can't just pitch anybody. So that's another reason people, they see the word investor and they don't take the time to get to know the investor's background to understand if that investor is a match for them. Another reason is a lot of women have what they call lifestyle brand companies. That's not a sin in itself. The sin comes in where you don't know how to package that as a business, a scalable, viable business. Martha Stewart is a lifestyle brand. She's an iconic lifestyle brand. You already know, when you say Martha Stewart, you know home goods, farmhouse, cooking, baking, mistress of the house kind of thing, entertainer of the house. When you look at someone like Sarah Blakely, that's a lifestyle brand, and I think when investors use the word lifestyle brand, what they really mean is, oh, it's a website community, which there's nothing wrong with that. But if it's strategically put together, you can have a brand, a lifestyle brand. If you look at Spanx, Spanx is a lifestyle brand because who doesn't want to look slim and trim? I don't wear any right now, but I have my Spanx. But it's about that lifestyle. It's about having that slim, tucking in things that need to be tucked in, and but also about feeling good about yourself. Bethany Frankel has a lifestyle brand. It's all about the skinny girl brand. It's about healthy, consuming healthy products and being the best healthy you possible. I can go on and on with different lifestyle brands, but when investors use that term, it's usually not in a positive way. So what you would have to do is take your community site or community or whatever it is and build it into a company, meaning where does it generate revenue? How does it maintain the profitability margin? How do you acquire customers? Where are their points? Where do you cross those points where they're subscribers and then paying customers? Because eventually you have to get to that. If they're just a bunch of subscribers and you're not bringing in money, then it's not a business. It's not a company. So that's what they mean by lifestyle brand. Another reason is that the pitch is wrong. You know, someone has told people that you got to make these 50 pitch decks. That's not true. You get 30 seconds to make an impression on an investor. You may have a 20-minute meeting, but you have that first 30 seconds to make an impression on an investor. And they'll pretty much decide in that 30 seconds if you're going to be somebody that they want to invest in. Trust me, I know. I get approached all the time. But those are some of the reasons why women don't get funding and don't get investments. And then they get frustrated, and then we get back into this cycle. And another thing, here's something else I want to throw out there that I want you guys to consider. There is a term that I really hate. I find it very derogatory. And I've seen it in print. I've seen it in the business media. I've seen it on conference panels. Heard it, on conference panels and on websites.